We have joining us on the line our guest here is the Alabama native, Bob Zellner. He's a civil rights veteran, high-level SNCC, a SNCC organizer who participated and organized civil rights campaigns in Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi. He is here today as the acclaimed author, The Wrong Side of Murder Creek, a white Southern in the freedom movement, which is now being made into a Spike Lee produced movie called Son of the South. Mr. Zellner, thank you for joining us. Hello, Mr. Zellner? Uh-oh, did we lose you? Uh-oh. Mr. Zellner, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Lost you there for a minute. All right. Just did your intro. I don't know if you heard it, but we're gonna just jump right into the to your book here. I'm gonna start in the midst and the court. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. We just had some things going on here too. I'm gonna start with your mindset and your core the reason that you joined civil rights movement. In your book alongside Murder Creek, you say, and I quote, "I was not in it for the black people. If it was just acting as a missionary impulse, I wouldn't survive." Right? So I had to look at it from a different angle. I was involved because I was fighting for my own rights as well. End quote. What experiences led you to adopt this view, and what rights were you deprived of in trying to be independently political in our white supremacist system?
Well, having grown up in South Alabama, I knew that by the time I got to high school, and I graduated Berkeley High School in Mobile, and I graduated Cleveland College. But by the time I was in high school, I knew that the subject of segregation was taboo unless you agreed with McCarthy. So I felt oppressed by that, especially as a young student trying to find out what's happening. I'm in Alabama, the middle of beginning of the civil rights movement. Arthur Reed Lucy is the first black student to go to the University of Alabama, and people weren't free to talk about it. We had a view that wasn't the majority view. So I knew that if I was going to get involved, I had to have my own reasons to get involved, and I wasn't free to investigate.
Okay. So you joined. So the reason was that even it was influencing you as well, or it was affecting you as well. Is what I'm saying. Okay. Now, early in the book, you describe an encounter with a man called Kingston Edwards in Murder Creek.
Yeah.
After explaining why shouldn't you say yes sir or no sir to some black elders?
Fred Edwards in East Bruton, Alabama, was an unusual character. He was a Unitarian Universalist, and he was a white Southerner that was a follower of Huey P. Long in Louisiana. So he was a populist, and a progressive populist, being a Unitarian Universalist. So he thought that the poor black people and the poor white people should all get together, because he said there's a whole lot more poor people, black and white, than there are rich people. So that was the influence of Fred Edwards in East Bruton. And at the same time, he speaks to me as a 14-year-old, 12-year-old, 13, whatever. I was very young. He speaks to me to be progressive and look forward, not backwards. But at the same time, he's having to teach me the racial etiquette. So he would say, it hurts me to do this, but I have to talk to you about how you treat white people and black people while while they were here in our little store. So he hated to do it, but he was telling me about racial etiquette, that couldn't say yes sir and no sir to black men and women. Yes.
Okay, so that helped shape your worldviews.
Yeah, it made me see something in two dimensions, something that we need to apply for, we need to struggle for, bringing people together. And since my father had left the plan, and when we were little children, I didn't get that racial teaching at the feet of my father or the bosom of my mother. So I just had a different view of things, and I knew I was going to get involved eventually. And so I knew I couldn't do it on the missionary basis to help black people. I had to be fighting for my own rights.
Can you talk a little bit about what racial etiquette meant on the white side of the color line?
Yes. All through slavery, black people had to be oppressed. Because to hold someone in, to enslave another human being, it's an act of war against that human being. So you're struggled all the time. So all during the slave period, white Southerners had to learn an etiquette that you treat whites for one way and black people another way. And that's not human nature, especially when you see people being oppressed and injured. You have a natural sympathy and empathy. So that had to be suppressed during the slavery period. And during Jim Crow, the same thing. Segregation is clear to young children in the South, black and white, that it's not normal. You play together until a certain age, and then after that, you're separated by law, required to be separated. If you don't want to be separated, you'll be persecuted. So that was fine. I was fighting for my own right to investigate, and if I believed in joining the civil rights movement, I should have a right to do that and not be killed.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Now, since we're talking about the civil rights movement, what is your sense of difference between how organizations like SCLC and NAACP operated versus how SNCC operated?
Okay, that's a very good question. First of all, SNCC, Student Non-Violent Coordinating Committee, it was the youth wing of the civil rights movement. And we were, by nature, a little bit more radical and militant than the older. So all of the organizations had their own characteristics. The NAACP was legalistic, and they wanted to have test cases. And Roy Wilson, during the early stages of the civil rights movement, was not comfortable with medical peppers and fuel secretaries of the NAACP doing marches and sit-ins, getting arrested, unless it was for a test case. So that was the nature of the NAACP. But they also could spend a amount of good for us, because when we were in jail, they would provide lawyers and help us get bail. So every organization had a role in the civil rights. SDL, the Southern Creek Leadership Conference of Dr. King and Fred Ellsworth, Reverend Abernathy, that was basically for black ministers. And even though Ella Baker was the acting executive director of SDLC, she encouraged the young people to be independent of SDLC because the adults would never listen to the young people. So every organization has its own role.
The Homestead of Murder Creek is a very rich portrait of various figures in the movement, from Ella Baker to Charles Sherrod, to James Foreman, who he has many interactions with, and to Kwame Ture, known then as Stokely Carmichael. How did their ideologies and organizational styles affect how you approach your own organizing efforts?
How did their style affect what?
how did their ideologies and organizational styles affect how you approach your own organizing efforts? What did you learn from them? What did you take from them?
Well, I was able to, once I had gotten Huntington and I took psychology and sociology, I had a better understanding of the way that what work organization functions, and I also had a pretty good idea about the difference in physical output, different regions. For instance, the early staff pick, the student nonviolent coordinating committee, was basically young women in from the Southern Church. So they were very from the supportive nonviolence and the what we call the beloved community. But after a certain amount of time in the movement, by 1963, many students were coming into SNCC, and they'd been pre-rise citizens, and they were coming on the staff. They were from the north, so they were less church-oriented and more politically oriented. So it was a good thing in a way because it taught us black and white Southerners, it taught us a more sophisticated political outlook on how racism was a national problem, not the regional Southern problem. So they brought a lot of political sophistication to the movement, and they also brought other things too. They weren't as dedicated to the use of nonviolent direct action, and so the things changed over the period until the point where SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, became an all-black organization.
Okay. Well, Mr. Zellner, can you explain to the listeners here what a SNCC field secretary is, and what's the significance of you being the first white field secretary?
Oh, okay, yes. A lot of people think that there was the state field secretary, but in SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, almost all of the staff were full-time staff, especially working in the field, rather than in the headquarters. You were a field secretary. So just about everybody in were field secretaries. That was the kind of the rank and file. That was everybody's title. And Charles Sherrard in Albany, Georgia, was the first field secretary period. Okay. And I was after quite a while after Sherrard started Albany, Georgia. I graduated college, and since I was going to campus traveling, I was the first white Southerner to be field secretary. But it wasn't a big leadership position. I was still foot soldier.
Okay.
Well, in the book, you talk at length about dynamics of both violence and nonviolence relating to you being one of the few white Southerners that was engaged in the SNCC. And I wanted to ask you, was white privilege a factor in how people within the civil rights organizations reacted to you and how you approached even your work in the movement?
Say again.
Was white privilege a factor in how people within civil rights organizations reacted to you and in how you approached your work in the movement?
White privilege?
Yes, sir.
White privilege?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. Well, white privilege was quite a controversial question, especially in white organizers in the Deep South. And any organizer in civil rights South has come right away white privilege, because the current people that oppose civil rights and affirmative action, they claim that they don't want one group to be privileged over the other group. for centuries in this country. And then when civil rights came about, all of a sudden these people, these white racists, they wanted to be color girl flying down. Don't want affirmative action and so forth. So white privilege and white supremacy, especially in white organizing in the Deep South, that has to be confronted right from the beginning. Otherwise, you're going to get involved with working class white and Southerners, poor and working class white Southerners, and then the FBI is going to come and say, hey, there's a bunch of commies here that are working for you. So you have to tell them right away where you're coming from. You're coming from SNCC, the Student Non-Violence Coordinating State. You're coming from SCEF, the Southern Constitutional Fund. And you just have to tell them where you're coming from. And if the poor white people are willing to work with you on that basis, there's something they need more than they need their racism. So that was the way we would challenge white people, by talking about white privilege and talking to the white working class about all of the things they have to give up in order to get unity with black workers.
Throughout your book, you talk about the violence you suffered in places like Macomb County, where you were almost lynched. And you talk about being forced in a chain gang and being surveilled on the orders of George Wallace every time you came to Alabama, and about being nearly starved to death in prison. And I think it's fair to say that joining the Civil Rights Movement organization meant standing against almost all elements of the white South. And my question is this: is it possible or desirable to be a white anti-racist or a white radical in the mold of John Brown, and to maintain comfortable political ties to white people in white politics?
Oh boy, what a question. That's very involved. In Alabama, maybe some know, but they were doing a movie, a film, from my memoir, Drunk at Murder Creek. And it's going to hopefully be out sometime early next year. And that whole question about those things raised, that's taken up by this movie big time. It's the opening scene of the movie involved my first staff meeting in Macomb in the high school, led by Brendan Abbott, about 16 years old at the time. Walked out of school. That was my first staff meeting in Mississippi and my first demonstration. And the white people were so furious that there was a white person involved in the march. I was the only white person. They literally, after a series of events, took me free with a rope that we're going to hang you with this rope from that limb right there. And I really didn't believe them that they were going to do that. But that's the beginning of the movie, and it's really confronting the past of my father, who got a plan, and managing to survive at least up to this point.
All right.
One other thing else I just want to say again that your book is very frank and rich in its descriptions, and one of the poignant examples of introspection and honesty was when you were analyzing racism and sexism inside of SNCC and inside of yourself. And you say, and I quote, "I am a racist because I grew up in a racist society. I have struggled with my racism for more than 50 years, but I am still a racist." Do you think the fact that racism is an inescapable fact for white people should govern strategic and political questions about how to organize them and whether to organize with them?
Yes, so. And you said something there that's very important about white people. When they're challenged about their racism, for a white person growing up in this country, anywhere in this country, and especially in the South, to say when confronted with a racist statement or racist behavior, they said there's not a racist bone in my body. And I would think that people are tremendously exposed when they expose themselves when they say that.
That's right.
Because white man in this country that doesn't realize that he has great bones in his body, just reacted from the culture that we grew up in, is not in a recovery mode. They're racist, and they're going to remain racist until they realize they have some racism in themselves to deal with.
All right. Now, you make a point of reference in portions of the book about John Brown and revolution.
Yes.
What do you see yourself as revolting against? And insofar as SNCC militancy is concerned, was the revolution reflected in its tactics or in its goals?
Yes. Well, John Brown is a tremendous symbol to a lot of white activists. Yeah, we want to live like John Brown, and there's a lot of contradictions there also, because John Brown was an abolitionist, and all of his sons were abolitionists, all his family, and at that time they thought, and they were probably correct, that there was no way to confront slavery nonviolent. So they had a very violent program of revolution, and I think that the abolitionists and the people who wound up really making the Civil War successful, I think they were revolutionaries in that they wanted to deal once and for all with the racial question, and they knew that the founding mothers and fathers of this country had built racism into our very Constitution. So it's a struggle that we're still in, and it's an unfinished revolution. Dr. Reverend Barber, that I worked with in North Carolina for 5 years, called the third Reconstruction that we're in right now. So we're still trying to make the kind of revolution that Ella Baker and Martin Luther King were talking about, a full-blown social and economic revolution in this country. We're still faced with it. We've got the orange man bringing back all racism and wants to take us back on here.
That's an excellent answer, sir. Later in the book, you describe an organizational project called GROW, which sought to organize white and black workers. And in one portion of the book, you say, and I quote, "We knew an idealistic approach alone would not work. Any kind of appeal to conscience, brotherhood, or Christianity had to be superseded with a practical, down-to-earth, material approach." Can you talk a little more about that and about what lessons Marxist principles have for anti-racist and labor efforts today?
Yes, that's a very good question about organizing. In a sense, at the end of my first six student nonviolent coordinating day, and starting the work GROW, we had a project called GROW, stood for grassroots organized work, and we also called it Exit of Wallace in foreign policy. So we made it very clear that when we started working with poor and working-class white Southerners, that this was our view to confront race in the very beginning. So that's why, well, we talked about John Brown. John Brown is not a symbol for the South. John Brown is a symbol for the North that made the Civil War a moral truth. So that's basically what we were doing with the white organizers. We were going to people who had been hurt terribly by racism because white people in the South were asked to give up good schools from labor unions, housed they lived poor, and because they supported slavery, they were even more poor. So all during slavery, the plantation owners were able to get the poor white population to work for them as patrollers of the road and all that. So they hoodwinked people even during slavery times of the poor white people to support slavery, and slavery directly impoverished them. Same thing is happening today. These right-wingers are mobilized poor and working-class white people in the South and in the country, and every policy that this right-wing has directly hurts them.
You know, it's funny that you say that. You know, we were talking about that a little bit earlier, and this is not from your book, but it's right in line with your book. You know, you wrote this big book back in 2008 as an account of what you saw going on in the civil rights movement. Are you still active? And what do you see? How do you see white people now that are trying to so-called help the black cause or help move forward civil rights?
Yes, still very much involved. Alabama, with my partner Pamela, and right now we're working on the Doug Jones campaign here in Alabama to try to re-elect Doug Jones as our Democratic senator, and this is probably the reddest of the southern states. And we're located in Baldwin County, which I'm told is one of the reddest counties, if not the reddest county in Alabama.
Right.
So we're still doing the work that we've been doing for the last 50 years. We're just doing it a little bit differently. And the young people that are coming along in Black Lives Matter and the Occupy movement, they're taking over the leadership of the movement, and they're going to move it forward. The same way we did in SNCC. We had very little popular support, and very few people realized that when Dr. King was murdered, he only had 24% approval rate in the United States. So this revolutionary work is very unpopular, but it's still to be done. And one of the things I want to do with the book and the movie is to try to just give a little bit of information and feeling to the younger generation of what we went through 50 years ago to win the vote. And a lot of them have been against various forces that the vote is meaningless and there's no need to vote. I think the young people are getting hip to that, and they're going to vote in big numbers. And this movie is aimed at young people, especially young women. And the women are taking the lead in our revolutionary struggle.
Right. All right. You know, well, Mr. Zellner, I don't want you to be a stranger. I want you to come back when the movie, just before the movie's released, so that we can talk about that. You know, and maybe push it a little bit for you. You know, I want to thank you so much for your time, Mr. Zellner.
So thank you. It's been great talking to all my friends from the area in Alabama.
Okay, and the name of the book from 2008, Wrong Side of Murder Creek, a white Southerner in the freedom movement. If you're hungry, try to eat something before you read. You know, Mr. Zellner, if you have any final thoughts, please feel free to share them with our audience.
Yes, with the movie is supposed to be in the Toronto Film Festival in September, and it's scheduled to be in the Fairhope Film Festival in November. So it's going to start its premiere right about the turn of the year, and I hope everybody goes to see the movie and brings me on.
And what's the name of the film going to be?
Oh, the name of the film is Son of the South. Executive producer Spike Lee, the director Barry Alexander Brown from Montgomery, and both of the crew and many of the cast are from Alabama.
Oh,
it's a real Alabama movie.
Excellent, excellent. Was it shot on location down here?
Yes, it was shot mostly in Montgomery, a little bit in Wisconsin,
Oh, okay.
and the Huntington College scenes, we weren't allowed to shoot on Huntington College campus, but that was done at Tuskegee.
Oh, okay. Great.
It's all Alabama, all Alabama.
All right. Well, again, Mr. Zellner, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. And we look forward to talking to you, hopefully after the film is released. And we're gonna go out and support it.
Okay, thank you, Herschel. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you, and keep the struggle going.
Okay.
All right.